we are a resist, fostering queer feminist intersectional resistances against transnational anti-gender mobilizations. As a FIRS project, we have been funded by the Horizon Europe grant, and we also focus on how anti-gender politics imperil equality, gender and sexual diversity, and legitimacy of critical knowledge in contemporary Europe. We are a consortium of 10 organizations located all across Europe, and we build on the interdisciplinary knowledge of our members coming from political sciences, sociology, gender studies, human geography, cultural studies, demography, philosophy. What is also very important for us in the Resist is to highlight queer feminist ethos of collaborative work in which we actively engage not only across disciplines, but also across different knowledge producers. Ourselves being located in academic settings, we recognize disparities and also at times lack of recognition of the immense bodies of knowledge and experiences built and found across civil society organizations. So it was important for us to build together, enter in dialogue and build bridges across academia and activism to highlight those existing knowledges, add new ones, and build synergies and bridges across different fields of existing knowledge to counteract those anti-gender mobilizations. A brief overview of our stages. While FIRS, as it has been mentioned, is just about to finish, we have one more year ahead of us. Our 4-year project started with the first stage of mapping formations of anti-gender, and I will outline a little bit more findings of this first stage in a moment. In the second year, we have moved to listening on the ground at micro level on the lived personal and professional experiences of the effects of anti-gender mobilizations. Then recently finished stage 3 was all about collaborating to resist anti-gender mobilizations with civil sector organizations, with civil society actors. We are now entering our 4th year, and we are slowly developing and building the stage 4, where we aim to reinvigorate feminist theories and practices by producing a set of different tools. And finally, the stage 5, as you see, sharing and supporting democratic inclusions through a range of impact and dissemination activities. Well, although we put it as a stage, it actually is one of the stages that runs across all our project from the very beginning. So now let me briefly overview and introduce you to the first stage, mapping of anti-gender mobilizations. So at the very beginning, we have asked ourselves, what are the political manifestations of anti-gender mobilizations? How they are formed transnationally? What are intersecting categories of inequality underpinning them? And we looked at specifically at parliamentary and media discourses to build a background, a context for understanding of other elements, which we'll introduce in a moment. So for this specific stage, we had 5 case studies of European Parliament and then parliaments and media in United Kingdom, Hungary, Poland, and Switzerland. We chose these because we felt that they represent very well a range of political spectrum of different cultures, different narratives, different political systems, and through the spectrum, they help us to understand how anti-gender politics manifests itself across different geopolitical locations. This was particularly important for us because, as we learn, much of the focus on anti-gender politics is very often pinned to Central and Eastern Europe. And there is certain dangerous, in our opinion, understanding in mainstream media and politics that this is a problem of Eastern European countries rather than global problem, rather than problem of Western European countries. So it was very important for us to show that anti-gender manifestations are different, but they are really an issue in every of those different political historical cultures. We looked at the data from 2015, and we have scrutinized around 200 parliamentary debates and over 1,000 media articles to understand how those discourses are building up and what sort of controversies are emerging. One of our findings is about the actors, and here you will hear many of the similarities of what our colleagues in FIRS have mentioned, that those actors are primarily cis men aligned with conservative and radical extreme right. The role of media is very important, and media are actually actively platforming up anti-gender actors. There are also very clear interactions and cross-feeding between political party agendas, media coverage of the different debates, and civil society anti-gender actors. Importantly, we want to highlight that the anti-gender actors and discourses are not only a matter of radical and extreme right. This is another fallacy that is popularly circulating in the mainstream. We also found that the more center-aligned political actors are also actively engaged in contributing to those debates. Therefore, we need to think about anti-gender mobilizations as spanning left-right political divides. And in this, on the right side, you see also what do we mean actually by anti-gender mobilizations, which perhaps is also helpful to outline. When we talk and when we use this anti-gender as a shorthand, we actually means anti-trans politics, anti-sex work, anti-abortion, anti-feminist, anti-immigration politics, anti-LGBTIQ, anti-sex education work, and in some contexts also anti-European discourses. So you'll see and hear an amalgam of very different approaches that come hand in glove together in building this very fluid political phenomenon that we call anti-gender. Now, what sort of tactics have we discovered at this first stage? Well, again, many similarities here with our colleagues. Gender is framed as threat to heteronormative family and sex-based, biology-based roles and identities. Gender equalities are also framed as anti-national, somehow endangering national sovereignty. They are used to deny LGBTQI rights, women's rights, and reproductive rights. And also, we are highlighting the role of and the figure of child that is supposedly endangered by the supposed excesses of gender ideology in the anti-gender discourse, that is greater gender equalities. And paradoxically, what we see in political and media discourse is a twisted narrative where those anti-gender politics of the majoritarian political actors frame their actions as a defense of democracy and defense of majority against feminist and LGBTQI movements. In those twisted narratives, majority is seen as minority under threat, and discriminated minoritized groups and gender equalities are framed as some sort of dominant hegemonic forces trying to impose something on the society. So very particular twisted narrative here. Another set of tactics that we've observed also is focused on trans people's rights. And that's important to highlight because the rise of trans people's rights has become more notable in recent years than it was before. Unfortunately, in those anti-gender political and media discourses, trans identities are presented as ideology and activism rather than lived experience of many people. We see increased marginalization of trans people as a very tactically, systematically organized action. And also here we see those global conspiracy theories that also our colleagues in FEARS have noted in their research, whereby gender and sexual equalities are framed as gender ideology, as nebulous force coming somehow from outside by some obscure, non-representative agencies trying to impose themselves on the national politics and national sovereignties. And to conclude the overview of this first stage, we want to highlight that meanings assigned with gender ideology are adaptable, changing by context and over time. Those mutations are used to advance gender politics. They're very plastic and flexible, and that is one of the hardest elements to address because of that flexibility and adaptability. And that is potentially one of the sources of their, unfortunately, success. And now I will hand over to my colleague Marianne, who will overview the stage 2 of our project. Marianne.
Thank you very much, Roberto. At the second stage of the project, we explored two guiding questions. First, what are the effects of anti-gender mobilization discourses and politics on people's lived experiences? And the second, how do people cope with those effects? These questions matter because anti-gender mobilization are not abstract. They translate into everyday harms. At the same time, focusing on copying strategies allows us to recognize not only victimization, but also the agency of people and communities who are finding the way to resist. We approach these two questions with a qualitative methodology, conducting 104 interviews and 36 focus groups across 9 case studies with Belarus, Ireland, Poland, Spain, Switzerland, France, Germany, and also Greece, and a group of people living in exile. Sorry, for the slide. Yes, thank you, Roberto. Sorry for this. This quote from Magda, a participant in Poland, illustrates these dynamics. She calls anti-gender politic an ideological offensive built on repeated moral panics about supposed threats to society. In her view, the panics divide communities and make them easier to control. What is important here is that people are not only aware of the harm, but also of the broader political project behind it. This perspective reminds us that anti-gender politics function as a tool of governance through polarization. Nevertheless, beyond the political divide, these are narrative and practice that impact individuals in their daily lives and results in tangible harm. Across contexts, participants report tangible social, economic, and psychological harms. Anti-gender politics directly affect feminist and LGBTQ+ people, but they also erode democratic values and human rights more broadly. And I think it's very important to understand this issue. It's not just only the matter of feminist and LGBT people. It's more broader a question of democratic values and human rights. Crucially, this is not limited to Eastern Europe or to the far right. These attacks are part of a wider pattern across Europe. Institutions often fail to act and are even complicit, which exacerbs people's sense of vulnerability. And yet, people and collectives mobilize using solidarity, advocacy, and legal action to defend rights and dignity. This tells us that lived experience are not only about suffering, but also about active resistance. So I will present some effect of anti-gender politics. When we look more closely, the spectrum of effects are striking. On the institutional side, people report discrimination on legislation, restriction on academic freedom, and political extortion. On the personal side, they face hate speech, cyberbullying, intimidation, and even physical attack. Many experience burnout, job loss, family estrangement, and the need to relocate and to migrate in some case. What it shows is that anti-gender politics operate at multiple levels. They undermine public institutions while simultaneously disrupt the most intimate aspect of the people's lives. This multi-layered impact reveals just how powerful these narratives are in shape both politics and daily experiences. And yet, people are not passive. They develop a wide range of coping strategies from withdrawing temporarily to protect themselves, to building communities of solidarity and care. They share resources, engage in advocacy and legal action, and use art or education, for example, to spread knowledge. Practice of joy, friendship, and chosen family are also central, as they allow people to sustain activism in hostile context. What we see here is that copying is not only about survival, but it's also about creating alternative spaces of belonging and imagining more inclusive futures. So I pass the micro to Roberto for the next.
Thank you, Marianne. And now, just very briefly, a couple of words about the freshly completed stage 3, in which we have collaborated with 40 civil society organizations to collaboratively produce knowledge and highlight and platform out the existing knowledge among the civil society groups. We have complemented these collaborations with over 30 interviews with experts across Europe who provided further expert insight into a range of related intersecting underlying problems that make up what we call anti-gender mobilizations. With this stage, we've been following on from the second one, and we have the similar range of case studies. The outcome of the stage is a strategy for a sustainable, cross-sectoral, transnational, and intersectionally informed feminist network to counter anti-gender mobilizations, because we believe very much as our colleagues in FEARS that only by coming together across different disciplines, across different sectors, we can only counter those systematic and organized mobilizations together. And final words about the currently ongoing stage, Reinvigorating Feminist Theories, during which we will be producing policy recommendations, toolkits, and guides to better support policymakers, civil society organizations, media, journalists, opinion makers in countering the disinformation of the anti-gender politics. So that's it from us. Thank you.